What is up, YouTube? We are back on the live side again. We are having a lot of videos that we're doing today, baby. Love it, love it. Dang it, Nancy's in the chat room. Carla's in the chat room. Cookie's in the chat room. The other Steph is in the chat room. Other Steph. Sometimes I send people upstairs. Other Steph, go upstairs. We have fun, man. We have fun. And hey, child abuse claims mostly go unfounded in foster care. Yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let's check this bad boy out, man. We are helping.
They were cries for help that never came. Tonight, the gripping stories of children who fought to survive inside DCFS, the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services.
In this 3-year-long investigation, Dave Savini and the CBS 2 investigators uncovered stunning data exposing how the agency's own investigators cleared alleged child abusers nearly all of the time.
First thing, I noticed you've had a lot of hairdos over the years.
Yeah, I know.
On the surface, Kaylin Brown seems happy.
I cut my hair, grew it back, cut it again.
I think the last time I saw you, it was purple.
Yeah. Yeah.
A loving mother of 2 kids.
Count and breathe.
1, 2, 3.
Now hopes her darkest days are behind her.
No child should go through that. That's why I keep my kids close to me.
You were 5.
Yeah.
Sexually assaulted when she was just 5, the same age as Kayla Rose, her oldest daughter.
It's not common for kids to catch an STD as young as I did, but that's the first time I caught my STD when I was 5.
Kaylin remembers at least 17 different foster homes and facilities and years of physical, mental, and sexual abuse in a child welfare system that was supposed to protect her.
All my life, nobody really wanted me.
She was still in the system when we first met her 3 years ago.
So I was abused my whole entire life.
This is a gathering of 14 now adults.
I was in 30 within a year.
30 different homes.
Yes.
Sharing stories of horror as children.
And how old were you when you went into the system?
3.
14 survivors no longer silenced by the fear of retribution and abuse.
How young were you when you were first abused?
Probably 12.
I've been neglected.
All of them placed in foster care in the custody of DCFS, the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services.
I've been physically, sexually, mentally abused.
The agency's failure leaving each their own painful path of recovery.
I was physically and mostly abused. I was like beaten.
And when it comes to Kaylin, she's still trying to pull through the wreckage.
And you're homeless now, living in a shelter. And how old again are you?
I'm 19.
Another time that haunts her as a child is when 2 adult males from one of her foster families stole the Girl Scout cookie money she raised.
All of it. I had like over $600 that I sold for cookies.
And you were hoping to get a prize?
Yes.
Like what could you have won?
It was basically like this big bicycle at the time.
After accusing the men, she says, to teach her a lesson, she was beaten and assaulted again.
I would say I was raped at least 3 to 4 times.
She says there were trips to the hospital, rape kits, and cries for help at school, but DCFS left her in abusive homes.
How many of you suffered abuse in foster homes?
Perhaps more twisted, these survivors say when they reported abuse, they were ignored, and the disturbing proof may be found here. Inside this DCFS database, after a long battle, the CBS 2 investigators obtained 5 years of abuse records. Every child has an 8-digit ID number, line by line, row after row, cries for help. And our meticulous analysis uncovers a deeply troubling pattern. When a DCFS child is allegedly abused 9 out of 10 times, it is unfounded.
The department has a history of not believing the kids.
James McIntyre says his allegations also were not believed. He still suffers from the trauma.
I was sexually abused. I was neglected. I was starved.
He now helps DCFS survivors and heads the Foster Care Alumni Association of Illinois, which includes these 14.
Foster kids make the best victims.
The data the CBS 2 investigators obtained contains more than 6,000 abuse and neglect allegations made against 3,200 foster parents, And while nearly 90% of all allegations go unfounded, sexual offense allegations, including sex abuse risk, molestation, penetration, and exploitation, are also unfounded 88% of the time.
We respond to kids who've been abused.
Mark Smith has been director of DCFS since 2019.
I think that depending on the circumstance, we can all get better at the way we respond to the needs of all of our children and families.
The most common form of abuse in the DCFS data involves physical harm and neglect allegations like bone fractures, head injuries, burns, and torture. In a staggering number of these incidents, 91% unfounded by DCFS investigators.
In this entire group, nobody's abuser was ever charged with a crime.
I can't speak to if any individual case was brought to the police or not, but I will say this, depending on the circumstance, depending on the perpetrator, cases are brought to the police from the DCFS perspective.
We wanted to know how often
Man, dude, you sound like you lying. You sound like you know good and well some of them cases should have been deeper looked into.
DCFS alerts police of allegations against foster parents, but they couldn't give us the data. They don't track it.
Did any of your abusers get convicted?
No.
Mine went on to actually work with children. If you're going to take, youth from their parents, you need to protect them.
Mallory Stout says she was placed into DCFS protective care when she was only 4. But once inside the system, the abuse just continued.
There's no reason why we should be receiving more abuse within the system than we receive within our own home.
Bad things happen in this system. And
Jess McDonald is a former DCFS director who held the post for 10 years.
90% of all allegations made by youth in care go unfounded.
Wow.
Too often, DCFS kids are afraid to report the extent of their abuse.
Allegations made by.
That's all you got to say is wow.
That we receive within our own home.
Bad things happen in this system. And
Jess McDonald is a former DCFS director who held the post for 10 years.
90% of all allegations made by youth in care go unfounded.
Wow.
Too often, DCFS kids are afraid to report the extent of their abuse.
If you're in a foster care setting, and there is always going to be a fear of reporting abuse because the potential for retaliation.
He says there's a DCFS rule requiring caseworkers conduct interviews with children alone without foster parents present.
I personally believe they would threaten and intimidate children and youth about reporting. And they would do it because they themselves are then at risk.
They would interview you in front of them? They would talk to you in front of them?
Yes,
but these 14 say that rule is almost never followed.
The whole time you telling them what's going on, your foster parent is just looking at you like, I can't wait until you get home so I could talk to you.
Kaylin says one foster parent even tore up the only picture she had left of her dad, who died when she was just a child, as a form of retribution for speaking up.
My caseworker didn't really care.
Do you feel like there's hope?
There is, baby. Don't ever lose hope.
Amen.
That's all you got most of the time.
3 years after that group interview, we found Kaylin living on her own with her children. We will be doing more stories with this group. They want to fix the system. DCFS says since 2020, things have gotten better, saying recurrent cases of maltreatment have decreased. Dave Savini, CBS 2 Investigators.
I think that things have gotten better because a lot of people are getting their news now from YouTube and not the news, because the news be sugarcoating and covering this stuff up.
Yeah, when was the last time we saw anything about Diddy on the news?
Yeah, you got that right. In fact, when was the last time I even watched the news? I don't even watch the news, but my mother watches it faithfully.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I think more of the younger generation is into getting their information from YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So
I wouldn't even say, Mike, there's the younger generation. I think it's the people whose eyes have been opened that realize that the mainstream media.
Well, we part of the younger generation too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna get on up out of here. Hey, Y'all put in the comments what y'all think. Y'all take a light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.